Today's the day. I can feel it. I think I know what's wrong with my car. I can't wait to get to it. I'm kind of excited. But first, I've got to set this thing back to the timing that I advanced way too far. I actually went intentionally one tooth forward on my distributor, so I'm going to set that back, get the timing set up to absolute neutral again, and then we're going to go ahead and get this thing running today. Yes! Finally! Yeah! So once again, we're at the marks down there on 0. This thing, as you can see, I advanced it that far. I got one tooth forward, so I got to pull this out and set that back to the tick mark up here on the outside of the case. And just to confirm, you can see the piston in the top of the hole down there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the piston is all the way up. And the last thing I'll look at, just to be 100% sure. Yep, cam lobe is up there, and cam lobe is sideways there, so the valve is closed. So I'll pull the distributor out, rotate this one tooth back, and have that lined up perfectly, button this up, and then we're gonna get this thing running. Okay, we're matched up. There's my tick mark on the outside, pointing to number 1. She's ready to rock and roll. And again, this is as simple as lifting this up like 2 inches, rotating this backwards one tooth, and then readjusting it to get it all the way seated and lined up. That's all it was. Clamp. It's running! That's the longest it's ever run for. Really? Yes. Why do you like press it on the gas? I love it. It runs like crap. Yeah, unplug it. I think I know what happened, but it runs. It actually moved. It runs, I'm happy. I am so happy that this thing runs. I did kick it back a total of a half a turn counterclockwise. I'm gonna let it cool down, and then I'm gonna go check the plugs again to see where my soot level is. But it runs. I mean, I am so happy that this thing runs. I gotta start getting some coolant in this thing. It started getting hot there towards the end, but so stoked. This is either gonna take a long time or it's gonna be pretty quick. So break out the old electric snap-on. I don't know which fan goes to this car, so I'm gonna clean this one because this is really, really bad. Either way. My other one is over there too, so if this one doesn't fit, well, I'm just wasting some time here for my red Mercedes. But to get to the point of this, the fuel pump has two parts. It's a safety system in it. And I don't know which, if this either has a timer that's in the relay or if it has a signal from the RPM gauge. My RPM gauge is not working, which kind of tipped me off to this because I had a flashback somewhere in the back of my brain where it dribbled a memory about reading that somewhere years ago. So I think I'm gonna go and hunt that signal down after I get the car running a little bit better right now. I don't mind just mechanically connecting the positive on that fuel pump directly to the battery for right now to work out some other kinks, but I will get back to fixing that. But that is the problem I have. It was giving me that 1.5 to 2 second prime, but it wasn't picking up or switching over to where the engine was running, and it wasn't keeping track of, or not keeping track, but it wasn't registering the car was running, and it would just die. So that was my problem. It wasn't timing at all. The electrical system is fine. Fueling seems to be okay. I just got to tweak a little bit on my mixture and kind of work on the timing a bit more. Let the rings come back to it. This thing has been sitting again for a long time. So that's kind of where that sits right now. I want to get the cooling system in because I did get it kind of warm earlier, and I want to make sure that the radiator is okay. And prior to that, it needs some cleaning in the front end. So I'm going to clean this stuff up and figure out which fan goes on, put the shroud back on, and at least have the cooling system sealed up. So that's my plan. And here's a little bit of the after. Now, I don't know. It came out beautiful, actually. I don't know if this is even the right fan still. Haven't even gotten that far yet, but very happy with that.
Look who broke down. Do we know these people? Okay.
Is the surging. I get it to run. Timing is still off. The mixture is still not quite right. I've already backed it off, I think, 1 3/4 turns from my, if you remember, my mechanical zero. So I've leaned it out a lot. It was blowing a lot of black smoke, as you can see in that last video. However, the idle is working better now, but now it just, when you're just quarter throttle, like just coming off of idle with it in gear, it stutters and spits and sputters, and then it rolls. So I don't know, maybe I've taken too much off. I got to add a little more back to it. I'm not sure. But the idle's back down a little bit. It's more reliable to go up. I'm not afraid of it stalling anymore. So it's come a long way. I'm quite happy with the progress I made today. So I'm going to wrap it up for today, and I'll be back probably tomorrow. Well, good morning. So Beautiful day here in Virginia. Yeah, snowman. This is our 6 or 8 inches that they were supposed to get. Yeah, didn't happen. So today, what I'm gonna try to figure out is my fueling. I gotta watch where I'm going here. It's super slick, freezing rain right now. I got 2 problems on this thing that I'm trying to resolve right now. One of them is the fuel pump doesn't stay running. It's not getting the signal from the RPM gauge, which I think it's the RPM gauge signal. The only other way that this tells the fuel pump to stay running is a timer, but I think it's the RPM signal. So I've got the dash apart, and I think I have a ground problem. I think the fuel pump relay is working. I've cheated it a little bit, so I can just get that thing running with a clip. Anyway, I should just use a paper clip. Actually, I'm using an alligator clip. Just seems a little excessive. But so that's one thing. Trying to get the car to stay running on its own without having to paper clip or alligator clip the fuel pump relay. And the second issue I'm having is my high idle, which I have a cheap Chinese copy IAC valve. That might be the issue. Probably 50-50. The only other issue is the idle control module under the dash. I'm going to go check that out and see if that has any potential problems. And then I still have to finish tweaking the timing and getting the fueling just right. So right now the car runs pretty good. I mean, it's a super strong motor, honestly. But it's got an off idle hiccup where it'll bog down and not want to run. Just off idle. And then once it catches, it's like, whee, away we go. So I'm trying to work on those 2.5, 3 issues. And I think I'm going to start with getting the RPM gauge to work, which isn't working either, which is why I believe the signal is not getting to the fuel pump relay. So here we go. So I took the fuel pump relay down and I got it hanging down there, and I took the cover off of it so I have access to it and I can close the switch directly. I also pulled my instrument cluster out of my 450 SL, and it's interesting the changes that they made. It still has a wet line for the oil pressure. The speedometer has still a cable going to it. This is for the tach, or the tach over here, on the grounds. And yeah, so this is still exactly the same. And this did exactly the same thing as this car is doing. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is these Allen wrenches out of my pocket, is see what kind of voltage I've got to my valve right here. And I'm looking at, I think, 3.5 volts, maybe. And then I might check the dwell over there on pin 1 on my diagnostic port to see what we got going on there. But I think I'm going to focus on my high idle issue first, just to make sure I can get my timing set right, and then work my way into my my fuel pump control issue. So at least it runs, but I want it to get that off idle stumble gone. And I think either this may be part of my problem because it's a Chinese copy, or my ignition control module, whatever you want to call it, underneath the dash might be my problem. So I might pull that out and go look at solder joints on that if I don't have good voltage here. And anyway, you'll see. 2.9. No real difference there though. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And it has that little stumble right there. So I'm going to come under the dash and see where I'm at. Get my module here. And pull this bad boy out. And I might take this apart and have a look at it. We'll get back to cutting this. I don't think this is still under warranty. Although, it's pretty weird. I thought it was funny. It says www.programainc.com. Huh? Pretty snazzy. So, 1982. Yeah, I think this has been looked at maybe once before, but here we go. I'm going to avoid my warranty. Here we go. Time to do some inspecting. You guys seen anything? I really wish I could find a smoking gun immediately. You know how easy that would be? Oh, dream of those things, right? There's some funkiness happening up in there. I don't like that. It looks like this may be burnt up. You can see right up in this area here. That looks pretty bad. Well, we'll give it a whirl, but it doesn't look promising. I'm not gonna hold the light with my mouth. Try this, and then it's a very snake area. That is pretty spicy, actually. So, what I said was I gotta hold the light with my mouth, but make sure you use a clean nylon brush if you do this. I'm using the Q2 air hairful sensor because I don't have the Q2. All right, connector's back in, or the control module's back in. One thing you should do is make sure all the fuses over there are actually the right wattages or volts or amps, whatever you want to call them. Because mine were reds and whites and all sorts of different places. But let's get back to this. Back in park, let's see if we get some more information on the dash. Fuel tank is back. Oh yeah, that didn't work. My clock works though, that's kind of nice. Let's see if I can clip this bad boy. One more time, turn the pump on. Pump is on. Yep. Well, RPM gauge wants to work, doesn't it? Seatbelt light just came on. Nice. Oil pressure's up. See, she still has that stumble. Ooh, a little backfire. I wonder if that's running a little too rich. Well, hesitation's gone. For now, I don't know. I just adjusted the timing a little bit. I still have my high idle, so that's not fixed yet. I am getting now 5 volts up there at my idle control valve, so that's not fixed. Well, the hunt continues. That's all I can tell you. We're going to keep working on it. All right, quick sidebar. My new blinker assembly came. Auto House component. I mean, for the price, you can't really go wrong with it. It's like 50 bucks, $45, $50 delivered, something like that. I got the horn relay here and the brown one here. And I know the cruise control, I think it has to go through here and then down. So there is barely enough space to get it down there, to get that fat end through. You don't have to disassemble anything. And I don't think it helps if you lower this down with the 2 bolts that are up behind the dash. So we're going to work that in. And I will say, this is kind of a nice feature. I saved my little screws because I thought I was going to need them. But the new one actually comes with the new horn relay screws already in, so I don't have to worry about it. So there we go. We'll see if this will fix my headlight problem. All right, new switch is in. Couple tricks. You have to feed this wire through the, cruise control harness. So you're gonna have the top side of the cruise control harness and the bottom side. This has got to go through that and in, or you're gonna end up with the back side being bunched out too far. And this has got notches in it that slide into the receiver here, right here at the head. It is a tight fit for sure. And then don't forget, I think this is the horn relay, or the horn button, horn wires. You got the brown one on the top and a black one down here. But fishing it through here, you can do it. It is a pain in the ass. I had to do it twice, but you can do it. However, it didn't fix my problem. So we're gonna go, at least I have new ends. They look pretty subdued, but pretty. So far, so good though. I was 90% sure that was gonna be my problem. So now I have a problem with the wiring. Now I've taken all the headlights apart, all the connections look good behind all the headlights. So clearly I got an issue from either the headlight switch itself or somewhere in the harness mice have gotten to something. So you're not gonna believe this because I really don't believe it either. I've never seen anything like this when it comes to fixing an electrical issue. This was way off my radar, but I gave it a shot just because it was in front of my face, literally. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I'm referring to fixing my headlights, my high beams, where on low, both outers worked fine. When I went to high beam, the left light turned off and both right lights turned on. So I had no headlights on the left side whatsoever in my high beam. So I'll show you what the fix was apparently. It wasn't a new blinker relay switch, blinker switch. First, I'll show you that they work. Okay. So, 1 light, 2 light. Both on. 2 on. All 4 on. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And believe it or not, the only reason, see, nice new switch in here anyway. The only reason that they weren't working, even my high beam was working, my indicator, see, was because the fuse box. The fuse is 17, 18, 19, and 20, or 16, 17, 18, 19, I can't remember which. But those 4 are for the headlights. They had not been, well, they were corroded. The actual fuses to where they touch on the bus bar were corroded. So spinning those around, I replaced 1 or 2 of them, put fresh ones in. They weren't blown, but now headlights work. It was that simple. I'm gonna get back to figuring out why this thing isn't running the way I want it to. And I figured I'd just go look for basic components one more time to make sure I have everything that I need. And I'm gonna test my valve for my idle control. I'll make sure that is clicking because, like I said before, it is a cheap Chinese knockoff. I'm gonna make sure I'll put probably 9 volts to that and see if I'm getting anything. So I think you need like 5 volts or so. Check my over voltage, and I'm gonna make sure, there was something else I was gonna do. Can't remember right now, but let's just start with the basics and look for everything. I'm gonna go check fuses again, make sure all my fuses are straight. I did have reds where whites were supposed to be and blues where reds were supposed to be, and it was just all screwed up in the fuse box. So this is just a real simple test. I'm gonna be listening for the clicking down on my relay. So polarity, I'm sure, doesn't matter. So we're just gonna rock and roll it. All right, that works. Now, I don't like being wrong on things. So just as preventative measures, I got a new oil pressure switch. I mean, 220,000 miles, why not? I got a new oil temperature switch, and this is one of the signals that the computer takes as far as engine idle. New over voltage protection relay. I got 0845, which should be, I don't know if this is the updated one or not, I can't remember. So got that, got one of these. This one, I don't know. I bought this because I wasn't sure if the one I have in the car was salvageable. When I took it apart, you can see the bad spots on the board. So I cleaned it best I could. It didn't seem to make any difference the way it ran. And, you know, why not? I got an actual Mercedes one just in case. You know, worst case is I have some spare parts, but regardless, these are the most common things I think they're gonna go wrong. So I figured I can't go wrong having them on hand. Which takes me to, this was the third thing I was thinking of. Making sure that this was gonna work or not. And getting to these 2 things. See, there were actually 4 things I wanted to get to. So we'll see how all that stuff goes. Those are going in regardless. So let's keep on the hunt. So this was found in my trunk, and it's in really bad shape. So I had to go online and figure out which ones actually went where. The left side, the odds were all pretty decent, but my right side was just useless. So, and this doesn't have anything, no schematic or anything of the relays. So let's go see what we got. All right. Oh yeah, and I forgot about my fuel pump relay. I think that's fine, unless I've beat on it too bad. But I think those top 3 or 4 reds are in pretty shitty shape. I might just pull them out and make them look prettier. So, as far as relays go, that's where my overvoltage is supposed to go, I think. Right up here. Isn't that? That's my overvoltage. Okay. Glad I got one, because there's supposed to be one there. I can't remember what the other 4 are. They're pretty interchangeable from what I understand. But no, that top one, that overvoltage, that's supposed to be a big red one. And it is blankety blank. So maybe that's my problem with the idle, because I know that's one of the signal inputs. All right. I think I know where I'm going to start. As you can see, I should have noticed that a long time ago. That thing just sticks so far out. Like, its absence should be a major red flag. There we go. Now, we'll see what it does. So I swapped out my new control module. It's down in there hanging out. And I don't know, we'll see maybe if that board was my problem on this thing or not. So here we go. So let me know if you guys do the same thing that I do, because this was supposed to be a little quicker today, but I pulled on a string and now, well, yeah, basically the Emperor has no clothes at this point. But so I'll show you what I did. So my horn was in the way, so I had to clean the horn cables, and ended up sanding it, painting it, and making the horn look pretty, because this is what it looked like, right? It's just trash. Scuzzy, to touch it, everything about it is terrible. But that's not what I wanted to do. What I initially wanted to do was take the air pump out, and I did. Got to that. But I didn't want to take the air pump out if I didn't have to, but then I kind of had to. I wanted to get to my oil pressure switch and my oil temperature switch, which are up there. If I can get some focus. Come on, focus. There you go. So I bought one from AutoZone, or I'm sorry, Auto House AZ, and it does not fit. So the one that they have listed does not fit a 1982 380 SL. It literally fell into the hole. It was just small, and the Pro was actually a third of the length of this one. So I put the original back in, and I'm just gonna hope for the best on that for now. I was able to get my pressure switch out and replaced, but in order to get to those things, you gotta dump the oil filter. That's out and about. Then, since I was doing that, I figured why not just do the delete and get rid of this ugly looking air pump. So the air pump is now gone. I gotta pull that hose out yet, because now I can cap that off somewhere up top. And I did create a plug for that I'm gonna put on. So now at least that will not have air going anywhere. So, like I said, one thing just kind of led to the other, and now I'm waiting for paint to dry because my horn. And here's my solution. I put a socket in there, and it got narrow, further in obviously, and then I just gooped the living hell out of it with some really good silicone. As you can see, it's even squeezing through. So she is solid, and it should be very well sealed, plugged, whatever you want to call it, as soon as I reinstall this back inside the car. And this actually was a kind of a pain in the ass to take out, the whole assembly. This is a bitch to get to, but that, yeah, you have to take the alternator and move it out of the way in order to squeeze this out through the top. But I'm tired of looking at it. It didn't need to be there anymore, so it's gone. And I don't have to worry about looking at an ugly piece of equipment that is serving no purpose. Well, I figured I'd check the exhaust. I mean, it's in decent condition, but I didn't like the way my knock sound sounded. So, where'd my hammer go? You guys got to hear this. I mean, I knew it was heavy. It was hanging on the ground. I don't know if you guys remember that first video, but the whole back half was just dragging in the dirt. It was still connected, and it looked sealed, and it looked like it was still in good shape, so I just rehung it. But listen to this. That sounds packed. And the mid, I mean, it sounds like there's cement in there. So I'm gonna separate these and stick my camera in and see what I can see. I already checked into here. I couldn't really see much with the camera, but I'll try it again. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but that is pretty scuzzy. More proof that this thing was super rich. I got that apart, it wasn't too difficult. I do have some chunks falling out of that already. And it's just surprising how heavy this stuff is. I'm gonna go weigh my other one that I have and then weigh this one to see just a weight difference. But this just feels like there's concrete in that. Just so dense, it's ridiculous.
I don't want to tell you how long I've had that one. I bought that for my red car about a month after I bought the red car. That was, hell, I don't even remember anymore. But it's on my to-do list. Remember, saving classic cars, it's worth it, right? Anyway, I want to see the weight difference between a new one and the old one. Maybe I can just reuse that one. I still am going to have a problem with that mid pipe. That just feels like a lead weight is filling that. Carla was the way we went. All right, looks about the same. Physically a little smaller, but feels 3 to 5 pounds lighter. We just got something in the mail today. I'm gonna go get it. Got a scale. Apparently my wife wanted to get it for weighing bags for the airport. Should work pretty good here, so let's see what we get. What does a new one weigh? Oh, that's kilos. Let's change that, huh? I don't know what FFs are. All right, here we go, pounds. 24 pounds. 23.96. All right, 23.96. But let's just see. Oh, that's not good. $28.74. Almost 5 pounds heavier. But look at all that crop just fell out. I mean, that could be 5 pounds of just mashed up carbon buildup for the last 40 years. All right, now let's, for giggles, lift this bad boy. Okay, here we go. 24.4. So this weighs the exact same weight as the new one. And this is, look how thin that is. I mean, that's like the Flatiron building right there. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. Damage is done. I managed to get most of the nasty hits out of that straightened out. Kind of looks a lot better. I'll do a little bit more when it's on the car. This end's good, bolts are all good, donut's good. So this is ready to go. I just got to figure out what to do with that mid pipe, so that's going to be something I look at tonight. So I'll be back on the internet scouring away. Anyway, I'm going to call it for tonight, and we'll have to get back on a new day tomorrow. So I guess the plan is going to be cutting the neck off somewhere through here, and then I'm just gonna hollow out as much as I can in here on the inside, and then I'll just weld this back onto there and hopefully get some airflow back. You know what I'm gonna do first though? I want to see if I can get a leaf blower to blow through this thing. That might be an interesting thing to see. Very scientific. You know, as unscientific as that was, it did tell me that next to nothing is coming out of this tube. I mean, there's like a trickle of air here. This one was putting out okay. If they were both doing that, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But, yeah, the hell else. Worst case is I gotta buy a new one. All right, so we're gonna put her through both of these holes. And you can see exactly what's in here. Look at that. Big hole all the way through. All the way down the pipe. The other one. There's another hole. Big round hole. And blocks that one out. Yep, look at that. Blocks that one out even. Well, I'm going to put this thing back together because it's clean all the way through. Let's see if we can put this thing back together. This is like the third time I've ever welded, so cut me some slack. Not terrible. I mean, not beautiful, but much like me, it'll hold gas. It's not perfect. Put a little paint on that, but not bad for a little Chinese welder, huh? Doesn't have a whole lot of settings. Yeah, min, max, 1, 2, on, off. What are your questions? Anyway, good enough. Well, as you can see, more pieces came off. I mean, how can I put an exhaust back on when the rear end is looking like that? You know, I mean, that's not supposed to be like that. So we're gonna fix this a little bit, at least bend it back in the right general orientation, and then we'll put everything back up. But, ugh, yuck. I think that will suffice it for now. My goal, so I think I caught that just in time. I mean, this is just all surface rust, but yep, we'll be taking this back off. Hopefully get it painted this summer. But exhaust, I still need to get a clamp. I'm one O-ring short, so I'll put an O-ring up here. I'll get one, but there it is. Buttoned up all the way to the front, and I know the exhaust is not the problem. So that's a thing. So I still have a problem. Right now, at this idle, I have no throttle response whatsoever. I've disconnected my throttle position sensor right there, and it made zero difference. All right, I'll show you what's going on here. RPM gauge so you get up out of the choke of it. RPM gauge went away, engine is up at 1500. I give it a little bit of throttle. It wants to die. But if I'm quick on the throttle, it's fine. I don't get it. See, I just almost stalled it, giving a tiny bit of gas. Oil pressure's down. It's down at its normal RPM right now, at 800 or so. But my RPM gauge isn't working now. I mean, it's kind of wiggling. See, it's kind of working. I'm going to unplug my fuel pump and see. Nope. All right. Back to the drawing board. Going to make a real quick video about how to rekey your glove box in case whatever reason you need to replace the lock cylinder in your glove box. Don't replace it, rekey it. Here's how you do it. Ever wonder how to rekey a glove box from another car to fit yours? Well, here we go. So once you got this thing off, of course, if you want, you've already taken these off. You've already taken one of these off. It's just a flat tip. Don't lose that screw. It's a very special screw. There's one on each side. You only need to take one of these off. The other one can stay on, and you can manipulate the box to kind of twist it and get it off the car. But anyway, you'll figure that part out. That's not complicated. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you're pulling this screw out, it's generally, do this evenly, all of them, because what you're doing is you're pushing this piece of trim up and pushing it off of the box itself. And that's separating this entire front piece of trim from the actual glove box. So 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple turns each one. Just don't strain or stress or twist this bar very much, or you're gonna have issues making it look perfect again. So that is step 1-ish. And that whole trim piece comes off with the lock. So that's part 1, okay? So now there's a clip that snaps here on the bottom. You push this clip up like that, grab the top, and it'll pop right up and out. And the little tabs point backwards, or away from the front of the car. And then the lock will basically fall out into your hands. Come on. And now, twist and remove. Now you have the lock in your hand. All right, that spring sits like that. This one was already out. Okay, so I drilled 2 little holes, one there and there, obviously. And this was the piece that holds the lock cylinder in, right? And that's where it sits. So you got to drill those 2 little holes so that you can get some needle nose on either side of this clip. A little shaky, but anyway, clip comes up. You can see it's arched. And then the lock cylinder simply falls out. So that's how it came out. I guess the little tab is on the bottom, but the lock anyway, the tab there, but anyway. So that's how that was oriented, and what I'm going to do now is put this key in and file it down until these edges are smooth with this key in it, and then this will be rekeyed. So what we're left with is an operational latch. There's still 3 of these out. I put 2 of them back in, and that seems to be enough.
So, put this back on there and I got a working glove box.
This is a video on how to rekey your door handle to include removing the door cards.
Step 1, remove door card. To remove door card, 1, 2, 3 Phillips. This slides out. 1, 2 Phillips. This piece falls right off. Take a pick and pry gently back slowly. As you can see what we got there, just pressure fit onto the cover. And then this will slide down the handle. Phillips there. You got a Phillips under here. No, under the front one. Phillips under here, right here. This stays in, don't mess with that. And then you've got 1, 2, 3 more screws for this chrome strip. Then you've got the snaps. There's one right behind this piece right here, a big one. Then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that, underneath on the bottom. Do yourself a favor, get one of these kind of things and work it out so you don't tear up the cardboard on the back. That's step 1. This piece slides under this. This does not come off. So you gotta kind of wiggle and work it, and twist it down and away, but you gotta get it over the lip on the top when you do it. So it's slight bending and pulling and wiggling and that'll come down. And that's the inside of the door card. See, that one ripped on me. I'll try to do what I can to repair it, but that one was metal. Those down on the bottom, all plastic. That one broke. That's a hook. And this one is a hook also. And that should be the first thing you put back in when you're putting this back together. And then of course, you've got the metal tabs, which slot in nicely right on these. Make sure before you lock those in place, you've got that front hook in the groove right there. And this is where the door handle hook goes. So up, up. Just want to appreciate this for a minute. That has never been off in 40 years. No one's been back here. That is pretty damn amazing, if I do say so. So the only reason I took this off is because you got to get to the front of the door handle. This part, the screw goes in from this direction, and there's a hole here in the metal. Now I'll cut this out, peel it back. I'm going to save this, believe it or not. I'll use a razor blade and cut this, peel it down, and then I'll show you what we're looking at. There we go. And there's the hole. You put a screwdriver through here, you can get to that top screw on the inside of that door handle. That is the only reason you really need to get in here. Everything else can be done from the outside. But since I'm in here, I'm going to take the latch off. I'm going to clean that thing up, ultrasonic it, and then we'll put this thing back together as well. A little vacuum operated door lock. I'm also going to do a once over on the window, the doors, or the window regulator and slides, and give this whole thing a good lubrication. She needs it. I think she's earned it. And we'll also put the window up. You're not going to get to anything unless the glass is up. All right, that's the guy. Big screwdriver, but all the way in there. Where's the door handle? Right there's the door handle. That's where it was. And that is really the only thing you need to do here. But if you're smart, lubricate the window tracks, get the thing to go up and down. Take this off, clean that up. That's just 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got a snap here and a snap here for the rods. And you got to figure this out. I haven't done this side. The driver's side was a little bit different than that, so I'll figure that out. Now, easiest thing to do here is just to pull the rubber off the door a little bit and go in from behind the rubber and get those 2 screws out. Peeled out. Top one.
And you can see the door handle already wanting to flop around. 2 screws out. Don't lose them. Then nothing too crazy here, but this has got deep in here a 90 on it, and then there's a fork sticking out from the door latch itself. So they kind of come out a little and then wiggle. Of course, when they repainted my car, they didn't bother taking the door handles off. So now this is stuck to that. So let me get that off. Okay. Now that that's looser. There he goes. That's what that looks like. So all in all, not very difficult to get the door handle off. And I'll take you in close and show you the fingers that I'm talking about. All right, right there. Those 2 little fingers. But it's not going to be an issue for me because I'm going to take the latch out anyway and ultrasonic it. So that's what you got to get that 90-degree behind. Oops, sorry, there. Well, that was easy. So this is a clip and it goes up and over the inner arm in there. It connects to that one right there. So I'll just fold that up and out of the way, and then it should come out like that. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. So all of these are free. 4 big bolts are out. This. Come on, baby. There it goes. Just like that. And that is the fingers from the other side. Now this goes in the ultrasonic, and then it's going to get cleaned up and lubricated, and yeah, she's a little crunchy inside. We'll make her feel like new again. And then get my door handle. We're going to go make this bad boy work with my key. So all I should really have to do is take this nut off and this wing, I guess, I don't know. And then this spring will probably come out too, but as you can see, this wing has a little part that comes down about 1/2 inch, and either side of that has got part of the spring on it. So when you put it back on, you got to make sure you put this between those, cross them, get them far enough apart, and slide it in place. Oh, that wasn't very tight. Don't lose that washer. And this bad boy should just kind of wiggle up and off. You can see how it crisscrossed? And then that spring will come out also. Keep that orientation of the spring. I don't know if it matters much, honestly. All right, so now this should just pull out if I put the key in. Even one that doesn't work. Wiggle, wiggle, pull, pull. Here it comes. And look at all that. Yuck. So we'll clean this up and we'll look at the tumblers. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take my grinder, or my die grinder, my Dremel, and we're going to grind these down perfectly flat, just like those guys up here. And now it's back together. So as you can see, I don't know if you can or not, let me put a little light on it. The springs are back where they need to be. Lubed everything up on the inside. Even put this in the ultrasonic. Now, key goes in. Works now. Unlock, lock, unlock, lock. Key. There we go. There it is. My spare key is in the door. Effortless. I even took some time to polish up some of the trim. Locked. Unlock. Effortless. That's it. So where am I? What have I gotten accomplished in this video? Let me think. I got it running, albeit not very well, but it does drive, move, the transmission shifts, the brakes are working fine. When I'm on the gas, it runs really smooth and it's got tons of power. When I am just coming off idle, it bogs down and dies, wants to die. RPM gauge works sometimes. I've troubleshot the yellow and green wires from the ignition control module all the way to the dash into the tachometer. From there, all the way down to the ignition control module, the idle control module, and even to the fuel pump relay. And so the red and green wire for the RPM gauge works, but I have a problem on the other wire that is coming off the RPM gauge on the back of the actual gauge. I'm getting like 17,000 ohms or something like that of resistance. It does do continuity checks, but it's way high. Checks to the fuel pump relay or the idle control module. I can't remember which at this point, but I was getting continuity where it was supposed to go. However, it was stupid high. So I'm gonna push that to the sideline for now. I still need to move forward on some other things. I think I'm gonna move on to rust and start doing some rust repair and starting getting the body prepared to look a little bit better. And I'm gonna have to circle back and figure out what to do with the engine right now. So I'm gonna do some more research and get back to that part. So to recap what I did in this one, other than getting it driving and moving, and it shifts really well, by the way. I'm really impressed. Even the S Sport Shift holds its shifts nice. Anyway, so it runs pretty good when you're on the gas. We also rekeyed the glove box. I rekeyed both doors. I know I showed you the passenger door, but I also did do the driver's door. It's done exactly the same way. I pulled the exhaust off and made sure that the exhaust was blowing all the way through. And there's probably one or two other things I did in here, but I would say overall successful. No, this is definitely a success. This is smile on the face, cars driving success. So I'm thrilled with that right now. So until the next video, I'm Derek. This is 4 in Tune. Thanks for watching.